Europeans, good morning to the Americas, and good evening to the Eastern people. I am very excited today to welcome Nicci Cuff, who is a sales coach for heart-centered business women and men, maybe as well. So I'm really looking forward to knowing more about her and what she does, and getting some tips for you guys as well. So without further ado, Nicci, can you tell us a bit more about yourself, about what it is that you do, and also who do you work with?
Hi, yes. First of all, thank you so much for having me. It's lovely to be here. So yeah, I'm Nicci Cuff. My company is Heart Centered Success. And you're right, at the moment it is women, but I will work with men as well. But at the moment I work with heart-centered women, teaching them how to sell. So I run the Heart Centered Sales Academy, which is a 12-week program. The kind of women I work with are entrepreneurs, coaches, healers, teachers, artists, women who are incredible at what they do. Maybe they're hypnotherapists or divorce coaches or something like that. They're absolutely amazing at what they do. But when it comes to the selling bit, they hate it. It's uncomfortable for them. They don't want to seem pushy or sleazy or cheesy or any of that. It's really, really common that there's a disconnect. They're wonderful at what they do, but they can't sell how wonderful they are at what they do. And so less and less people are seeing their work, less and less people are getting to buy from them. So I work with women to teach them heart-centered sales skills. So they get usable skills, but that comes from the heart. So they don't feel yucky about themselves. When they've got a sale, they feel really good and really like I help them get their work out into the world.
Yeah, I mean, it's so fundamental what you're doing. And a lot of us struggle with selling. I mean, selling is a skill, and it's not a skill that comes naturally to everybody. And on the other hand, if we want to be entrepreneurs, at some point we need to be able to sell,
Yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah,
Otherwise, we don't have a business, we have a hobby, as they say.
yeah,
So to learn how to sell is definitely so, so important. I mean, to me, I believe it is as important as knowing how to coach, or for a coach, obviously, or knowing, the therapy, the techniques, and whatever your skills are. But selling is to me marketing and sales, and selling is to me as important as that.
yeah.
If you have
It
one
is.
but not the other, you're gonna stay in limbo, and you're not gonna have clients, or maybe one here and there, and that's it.
Yeah,
So if you want flow of clients coming in, then you really need to be able to do that, and it's very important. So I'm glad you are doing that, and I agree. Yeah, for heart centered, you called it heart centered and success and so on, because
yeah.
I believe of the audience that you're dealing with. Not just business for business, but business from the heart, right?
Absolutely. Exactly. And what's funny though is even when I train hardened salespeople who've been doing this forever and they are salespeople through and through, I still teach the heart centered method because it's the only way to sell fairly and rightly. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And by being in your heart, you actually inspire people to buy from you more anyway. So yeah, yeah. But it's true. I was thinking, you can have all the followers if you're in social media and you've got all these followers, you've got high engagement, you're doing lives, you're sending DMs, you're collecting emails. If you're doing all that, that's wonderful. But if you can't close that, if you can't turn that person into a client of some kind, it's all for nothing. And then you're exhausted and drained and feeling really sad.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
disappointed and
yeah,
discouraged as well.
yeah,
So
yeah,
it's
yeah.
really, so you were saying that you also taught people who were already salesmen and saleswomen,
God, yeah.
but you taught them a different approach.
No, the same approach, heart
Well,
centered.
I mean, your approach.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
I mean, my background is 28 years in sales. I call it 25 because it sounds younger, but it's actually 28 years. I worked it out. And 20 years of that, I've been sales training. So should I tell you about my background then of how
Yeah, yeah, that was my
how
next
yeah.
question anyway, about, what's your story? How did you come to doing what you do now?
Yeah,
And,
it actually started. So because what I'm doing now is I'm fusing my love of heart-centered, the conscious path, spirituality, whatever it is you want to call that. It's got lots of names. And I'm fusing that with my experience in sales. But it actually began with my love of the conscious path. And I just wanted to go to India, actually. And so I needed some money. And people kept saying, you should be in sales. You'd be really good at sales. And I was very young, and I was like, okay. And I got a job in sales with a company called Mercury Communications. And just complete coincidence, turned out I was really good at sales. I really enjoyed it. And I got really into the psychology of like, okay, why is it that when I say this works with almost every customer? And how come when I copy this guy who's really good, but when I say it, it doesn't work for me? Like, what's this about? And I got very into the psychology of why we buy. Not so much to improve my sales. I was already doing really, really well and loving it, but just because it was so interesting, you know?
Yeah.
And so I didn't go to India. I did eventually, but I was like, oh, I'll stay here. This is great for making loads of money. And then after a few years, I got asked to be a sales trainer with the company had merged from Mercury to Cable and Wireless, which I think quite a lot of people will have heard of. That's a bigger company. In terms of the merging, this company kept merging with other companies, became NTL, and now it is Virgin Media. And I stayed with the company throughout. Yeah. And I ended up, like, long story short, I ended up as the head of sales for Virgin Media with over 100 people working for me. None of this had been the plan. This was just, let's go to India and live on a beach. So yeah, I wrote the sales training when I became the sales trainer, which is 20 years ago now. I wrote the sales training. And at the time I called it customer centric sales. Or I would also call it consultative selling. So it means it's about the customer. It's presenting in terms of the customer, not what we've got, but what they might need or what their concerns are. And the same consultative. So it's not like you will sell everything to everybody, that you will find out what this person needs and only sell to them if you can match those needs, kind of thing. So those are the names I gave it. But it turns out that's heart-centered selling. It's the selling has not changed. Just the name I've given it has changed. If you're going to sell well, that's how you do it. And funnily enough, even though it's 20 years old, Virgin Media still use that sales training today in their, you know, if you're a new salesperson, you will go through that sales training. So yeah, that's how I got into that. And then I was the head of sales for Virgin Media for a long time, a head of sales for the public sector division of the Dixons Group. So it was all really corporate, really like senior leadership roles. And then when I had my son, I became a business consultant, doing the same kind of thing. But what I found was every time I consulted, and this was maybe to measure things differently, put new processes in, restructure the company, actually every time the answer for them to do better was just, I need to train your salespeople. And that was it. It was like, we don't need to restructure everything. Your salespeople don't know how to sell. So I would do consultancy and end up training instead. And I was told a number of times by like a soul reader and a psychic person, you're here to bridge the world, the sort of spiritual conscious world with the corporate world. And I thought that sounded lovely, but I thought that meant I would take mindfulness and meditation and right living to the corporate world. I kind of had that in the back of my head. I'll always do that. That's a great idea one day, you know, because I already have all the contacts in the corporate world. And then just in the last couple of years, because all my friends are like healers, teachers, coaches, this kind of thing. And they all go, oh, I hate selling and I feel so awkward. And I suddenly realized, oh, no, I'm not meant to take mindfulness and that kind of stuff to the corporate. I can take my knowledge of what I've learned, what I know, my experience of the corporate world and of how to sell and market and all that kind of stuff. And I can help women who need to get their work out there. We need coaches, healers, teachers right now. We need them so much. And there's this disconnect that they don't want to sell. So I'm here to help them sell so they can get their work out into the world. That's
so it's a beautiful story, and I got goosebumps when you talked about the realization that actually it was just the other way around.
Yeah.
But instead of bringing spirituality to the corporate, it was, bringing your knowledge, all your experience in the corporate to the healers and to the spiritual people. Yeah. So you were one of those few people who were naturally gifted at selling, right? And So I think there are very few of those. I think most of them have to learn from people like you, for instance. So that's perfect, you know.
Do you know what one of the tricks is though? Is just being yourself and being chatty. And do you know what I mean? There's not necessarily a strategy or a skill. And I think what people do is they think, oh, I've got to sell now. So I have to be a certain way and act a certain way. And I need to know. And it's like, you don't actually, you can just be you. And this will actually, as long as you're selling something beautiful. I mean, if you're selling a dodgy vacuum cleaner or, you know, double glazing windows or something, then sure, you're going to need some dodgy techniques there. But if you're selling something beautiful that's genuinely going to enhance someone's world, then yeah, a lot of it's about being yourself.
Yeah, no, I fully agree. And I think you need to stay yourself when you're selling. But a lot of us are, for instance, introverts, and then we are less chatty. I mean, we're good at what we do, but it's not we don't go necessarily into the you know, the chatty stuff and so on. And also it feels like we don't want to impose, or, you know, we don't want to push anything, and we don't want to ask. And so the whole selling thing seems like, oh my God, it's so difficult, you know? So for a lot of people, it really feels difficult. And it has nothing to do, indeed, with how good we can be at our job.
Exactly.
It's completely different.
Yeah, totally. Exactly. And that's part of what I actually do is help them see that it's actually exactly the same. I mean, it takes, you know, a while to get someone to be able to see that, but it's like, yeah, you know, especially if you think of coaches, you know, it is a consultative process, isn't it? You wouldn't coach somebody everything that, you know, if you're a divorce coach, for instance, you would find out where they were at and what they needed, what their needs were, and then you would coach them in that way. If you were a nutritionist, you wouldn't tell them to take all the supplements that you know about. You would ask them questions and find out about, you know, what they're at and where they're at and what their needs are. And then you would say, just here's the supplements I think are right for you. With all the kind of women I work with, that's what they're already doing in their role. And so my job is to let them see that actually that's how you sell as well. And that's how it still feels good, because yeah, you're not pushing, you're simply asking the questions and working out what matches what their needs are and what you have.
Yeah.
You're dead right. Everybody I work with feels, oh God, no, I don't want to be pushy. I don't want to convince anybody. So yeah.
Yeah. So tell us a bit more about the work that you do with your clients. And you said you just launched your new program. So tell us a bit more about, you know, so the people who come to you, what's their issue, and, you know, how they are at the other side of your training.
Okay, yeah. So the training, it's a 12-week program, and it's the Heart-Centered Sales Academy. And yeah, within that, they start their where they're starting is generally what we were saying, just going, oh God, I don't want to sell. It just feels too icky, and please don't make me be really pushy. And it's not in my nature to be flamboyant, which of course you don't need to be to sell it either. So they're generally, as I've said, they're amazing. They're beautiful at what they do, but they cannot even talk about money. Sometimes it's like, oh no, that feels rude or awkward or embarrassing, or it's very different. But so through the 12 weeks, there's a set of modules that they go through. So they learn what my sales training is based on is the buying process. So it's not the selling process. It's how a human being buys, all of us. If you were to go and get some milk or buy a castle, you would go through the same process before you were ready to part with your money and buy the thing. If it's milk, it's going to be really quick, but you will still go through those 7 stages. And if it was a castle, it might take you much longer before you're ready to buy it. But there's 7 steps. So that's the buying process. And what my training and the structure I give to you, it matches that buying process. So you learn what the customer needs to go through at each stage before they're ready to say, oh, yes, please take my money. So what I'm doing is I'm leading my clients by the hand through the process. And once they know that, they then take their clients, their future clients or customers, by the hand, and they walk them through that process. So then at the end, when they get to say, would you like this? Shall we sign up? Let's go for this, whatever. It makes sense to the client, to the customer, because they've walked through this process. Exactly. And so they're not like, whoa, take it easy, I'm not ready to buy yet. And they're not like, oh my God, are they ever going to ask me to buy this? Sort of, do they not think they can help me? It's just at the right time, you know, because that's one of the problems that we have, is that you know, heart-centered women especially won't ask for the sale. And this sends a message to the customer. Maybe they don't want to work with me, maybe they don't like me, or maybe they don't think this suits me, or maybe they don't think it's right for me, because, you know, we all turn it on in on ourselves. So do our
Exactly.
customers. So do our
Yeah.
customers.
Yeah.
They're still going,
But
oh,
we never think about that, of course.
no, because we're going, oh my God, I daren't ask for the sale. And, you know, it's like, I compare it to going for a kiss on a first date, you know, if, or maybe a third date, and still no one's kissed anybody. And it's like, oh, I don't think they like me. You don't think, oh, bless, they're nervous. You think, oh, I don't think they fancy me, you know? So, so it's not only is it makes sense to the customer when they're asked, let's go for this, but it makes sense to you. So the person selling also feels kind of held by that structure, you know, so they know. And also, if it goes off on a tangent, or the person goes on holiday, and you know where you are, and you can pick back up on that structure. And so because it makes sense to you, you also feel really confident and comfortable asking for the sale. So I've said with the heart-centered method, asking for the sale is like the most natural, obvious next step for you and your clients to take. It's not like, you know, it's not icky, it's not anything, it's just right. So at the end,
so, it's the difference between that push or pull.
right.
So with the heart center, we're not pushing anything to anyone, but they are pulling because they want to work with us.
Absolutely.
So it becomes
Exactly.
more natural.
Yeah.
And I appreciate what you said. So it's not about selling, it's actually about helping them to buy. Because
Absolutely.
everybody hates being, you know, they say something like everybody hates being sold to, but everybody loves to buy. So
Exactly.
it's just how to present it in a complete, well, in a way that it's about buying and not about pushing our stuff to them.
Yeah, exactly. And it's when it's done right, it's like you're like two magnets. So it's not just there going, please, please. It's like, wee, lovely, you know, because it makes sense to everybody. So yeah,
So
at
the
the end of
final
the,
kiss,
what, sorry?
so the kiss that's finally
Yeah,
coming.
then there's the kiss. So yeah, it's so that's the 12-week program. You get lifetime access to the actual modules, but you get 12 weeks of coaching from me as well. So that's like weekly coaching in a group and monthly one-to-one coaching. And then at the end, you've got authentic confidence. It's not fake. It's not, oh, I've been told I need to be. It's because you feel confident in what you now know and understand about the buying process, and how what you have fits that beautifully. So there's authentic confidence. A huge part of it is that you get sales skills, you get usable sales skills. So, you know, sometimes when you might see a YouTube video of how to sell, and they say stuff and you think, I would never say that, that's just awful, or I've never used those words in my life, I'm not about to start now. So I don't teach that kind of stuff. I teach you put your own language onto it. You know, you only say what's right for you, but I give you the kind of bare bones of which language to use. You know? So it's a bit like I give you the skeleton of what you need to do, and then you put your heart into that. That's what makes it, you know, yours. And then and proven strategies that I know of 28 years of doing them, that they work. So that's what you get at the end.
Okay, that's great. I have a question about money and about money mindset.
Yes.
Do you also touch upon that? Because sometimes a part of what prevents us from asking for money is also, you know, am I worth it? And some kind of lack of confidence in what we can offer, but also simply about money, well, limiting beliefs about money, you know, like we should ask for money or things like that. Do you also touch upon that in your training?
I do. That's something that I do in the coaching, and I'm actually just working on one about value and perceived value, because you're everything you said is just so spot on, that people can feel like, oh, they're worth that, but I'm not. It's the feeling of not feeling good enough, or there's the feeling of not deserving. Like, I mean, I know I have one client that I worked with about 18 months ago on a one-to-one basis, and she had some real blocks. Actually, she ended up working through with theta healing, because there's only so much I can do on that level. These blocks were from her childhood and her upbringing and everything, you know. But we were able to realize that that's where they were, and then she could go and do that work on them. But she would do things like, I would get her to see the value in what she offered, and she would charge more money, and it would come, and she'd be like, yes. And then something would happen so that she would have to spend that money on the problem with the motorbike, or you know, whatever.
Yeah, so that's the that's the other topic. That's the upper limit issue as well.
Yeah. It's really
Completely,
interesting. So, but now she's sorted that block. Now she has money coming into her, and there's no awful expense going out every time she gets money. But yeah, I think, and a big part of this training is about growing the confidence in what you have to offer, and seeing. We do a lot of work around the benefits and how it does enhance people, because we kind of know what we do is good, of course, but maybe no one's ever sat down and given a list of how does this enhance someone's life? What is it that this is bringing in? And it's the same way as I also teach people how to interview for jobs. And it's the same thing when you get someone writing a list and digging into what they can actually do, what they have to offer. They're like, oh, wow, actually. Yeah. So what, I do the same. And like I said, I'm working on a kind of wealth and abundant mindset module. Like, it'll be a bonus module, because it's so important, because if you only know the skills, but you're constantly convinced that you're not good enough, or you know, you don't deserve this kind of success. And this is the big thing, is because I work with heart-centered women, and there's almost this kind of starving artist vibe going on.
You can't be rich and spiritual, and that kind of limiting as well.
It's really big, and even in our communities, it's like that. It's like, well, I thought you were a healer. How come you've managed to get that really nice car if you're a healer? It's like, because I'm a fantastic healer. So, and you know, abundance is our birthright. It's our spiritual right.
Agree.
So yeah, I do. I think that's really important work as well to kind of deal with this. Yeah.
I think it's important, because it completes the other part of the training. I mean,
exactly. Yeah.
Otherwise, you can learn sales skills, but if you still have all those limiting beliefs on your way, on blocking your passage, then it's like you do it, but you can't get the full benefit from it. So I think it really, indeed, I think it needs to be integrated, which it is. So that's perfect.
Cool.
Yeah. Great. So, Nicci, could you give us maybe some tips? For our audience who might still have some difficulties asking for the sale, you know, where can they start, or what can they do?
My first tip, funnily enough, we've kind of like dipped into what I would say anyway were the main ones, but my first tip, without question, in sales and in life, and as a reminder to myself as well, is be yourself. That's just begins and ends everything. Is be yourself. Like you were saying, in fact, no, it's a different saying, but it's another really classic sales saying, which is people buy people first. Yeah. So it's very cheesy, and you hear people in the sales world talk about this all the time. People buy people first. But if you kind of stop and think about what that means, it means that the client, the person in front of you, needs to buy you first. So they need to like you, they need to trust you, they need to feel safe with you, respect you. You know, this needs to be in place before they're going to hand over any money. And the best way to do that is to be yourself. You know, don't be fake. Don't be, do you know what I mean? Just be absolutely yourself.
Sorry, before you move, that makes me, that reminds me of Simon Sinek, about the people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it.
Yes, exactly.
So it's exactly the same principle, that if you show yourself and, you know, the why you do the things you do, they will transpire and people will see that. And that's what's going to make them buy.
It's so true. You're so right. Yeah, I love him as well. Yeah, definitely. Because also I think what people do, and again, especially the kind of women that I work with, is they get to the selling bit and they put a mask up, like, you know, and there's this like weird sales mask. Now, what happens then is the client that they're talking to, the customer they're talking to, doesn't go, oh, this person's uncomfortable with selling, that's okay. Because it's subconscious that all they do is go, ooh, something doesn't feel
Exactly.
right anymore.
Yeah.
I feel a little bit suspicious or unsure now, and I don't know why. And what the customer will say to you is, can you send it me in writing? Or
Yeah.
I need to think about it. They're not going to say, I feel like you've become quite insincere and inauthentic now. They're not naming it because they don't even know. They just go, I need to talk to my partner about it before I decide. And you think, damn, they're not going to go for it. And it's because you've put this mask up and that's made them feel a little bit unsure of you. So it's definitely be authentic and stay in your heart. You know what you do is beautiful and is going to enhance these, your clients' lives. So just be there. So yeah, that's my first tip. My second tip is to reframe it as well. It's this same thing. If we put the mask on when it's the selling bit, forget the selling bit. We're not going to turn into a new person and then sell to them. We're going to stay who we are, consulting with them and finding out what works for them and why what we do suits them. And you said it before, actually, along these lines, we're going to inspire them to choose to buy. We're not going to sell to them. And like you said, people hate being sold to. No one comes home and says, I got sold this today. Like, we just don't say that, right? But we say, I bought this today.
Well, I just bought.
I bought this amazing thing. I've signed up for this great thing. But we never say, someone sold me this today, because that's not cool. So yeah, so we inspire them to choose to buy. Yeah. That's tip 2. And tip 3, I've got them written here actually, so I remember my top tips is, the thing that we were saying is know when to ask for the sale. Yeah. Know when to lean in for the kiss, because I hear, and this is with top salespeople that I work with. Salespeople also come to me for masterclasses, and they're amazing at what they do. And I will listen into what they're doing or watch whatever, and I can see them talk themselves out of a sale. I can sense, because obviously I've been doing it for years. I can sense when a customer has gone, all right, all right, let's go for it. You can sense that shift in the energy. And that's when you ask for the sale. If you keep talking, they can sit there going, oh, hang on a minute though. And it's listen out for buying signals. Listen out. If someone says, how long does this last for? Yeah. Or even, how much is this going to cost? Objections, even reasons why they can't have it, are actually buying signals, because they're imagining having it. They're imagining having this thing, this coaching session with you, or whatever, this product. And they're just working out, well, maybe this, maybe that. So I could talk for about an hour on buying signals, but it's to listen out for the buying signals and take action. Be brave and ask for the sale rather than talk yourself out. Because very often your confidence of asking for the sale and saying, okay, let's go for this, let's sign you up, is enough to inspire them to go, yeah, okay, let's do that.
Yeah. And if it's fast, then the moment is gone and you can't get it back. Yeah. And as you say, at the end, you end up talking yourself out of the sale because you add some stuff that doesn't need to be there. And
you also start sounding a bit insecure because you're going on. And exactly. Yeah. So those would be my 3 top tips.
Okay. Well, thank you very much, Nicci. It's already half an hour. My God, time flies. Yeah. It was really nice, and I really love the passion that you have for your art that transpires as well, and your energy. So again, thank you very much. I am going to put in the comments the details, so for people to get in touch with you and to join your program if they feel attracted to it. So I'm going to put that in the comment. And thank you again, Nicci, for being my guest today. It was a pleasure.
It's fantastic. I've really, really enjoyed chatting with you. It's been absolutely beautiful. And for anyone who is interested, they can just join my free group. So because in there I do lives every Thursday at 5 o'clock English time, UK time. So so that's all free. And then if they like what they see, then they can talk about working with me as well. But it's been lovely chatting with you. Thank you so much.
Same here. Perfect. Well, have a nice day, everyone, and see you soon for another interview. Bye-bye.